All right, another podcast. Another episode of the Josh Cast. Coming to you from Southern California. Well, we're in an interesting situation here where people are, not wanting to cross the street as I drive. Very hesitant to cross the street, and I have to wave them. And I'm having my morning allergies, not to be confused with the plague. So here's the thing. Right now, I'm trying to work on my Judge Dredd material. This is what happens. I usually will pick a sci-fi movie and then just start. I will not rest until I have material for this film. Specifically the fact, and I've talked about this in a previous podcast, but I've not yet really found it. But the notion that Judge Dredd, and if you're not familiar with Judge Dredd, Google it! Well, that was rude, but he lives in a futuristic mega city, and the idea is that he is a street judge. And the street judge is cop, judge, jury, and executioner all in one. And is just doling out the law as he encounters people. Now, in this age of tremendous police brutality issues, watching this movie feels a bit problematic. There were moments, though, I was watching the Stallone Judge Dredd. There's two Judge Dredd movies. There's that one, and then there's the Carl Urban Judge Dredd movie, which critics overall tended to like better. But I watched the Stallone Judge Dredd movie because I just felt that one was made in the 90s, back when we thought it was always going to be this good. Back in what my high school history teacher would call the Pax Americana. And that was a reference to the Pax Romana, the era of peace, or comparative peace in ancient Rome before everything fell apart. And he said we were in that right now, the Pax Americana in the 90s. And it looks like he was right. And he wins, as a prize, a giant tub of marmalade. You win a giant tub of marmalade. That's really not that's cool that you're giving me marmalade, but it's not really what I need right now. You must feel really excited to have won this giant vat of marmalade. I mean, it's okay. It's a simple jar of it would have been fine. Well, where would you like us to put this giant vat of marmalade? There's nowhere. It can't even fit in my apartment. I don't know where to put it. In fact, can I just take a jar, scoop out a little bit for me, and then you can do what you want. This giant tub of marmalade needs to be delivered to your property. It is now your property. It is your responsibility to take care of this giant tub of marmalade. Well, great. Thank you. Thank you for, I guess my prize is work. Great. Fantastic. Went off on a bit of a tangent there. Judge Dredd. What's the point of Judge Dredd? What is the point I'm trying to make? Street judge, jury, executioner. In the era of police brutality, it's awkward watching this movie a bit. There were things in this movie that, looking back on it, I found quite hysterical. Not the least of which is the dude's outfit, because he's got these giant shoulder pads, and on one side of the shoulder pad, the shoulder pad itself it's really more like armor. and the armor has been sculpted. And they sculpted a giant head of an eagle on the, I believe, the right shoulder blade. Not the blade, but like over the right shoulder. So there's this giant eagle sculpture. The guy is walking around, like his armor is also a sculpture. And he's walking around doling out justice. It seemed to me, if you're fighting crime and you want to be agile enough, that you would probably not want to wear an outfit that could also double as a major Renaissance work of sculpture. But he certainly finds a way around it. In fact, the way around it, I think, is that he just, well, so much for my right hand. But that, what I loved is the way they filmed it, is they always tried to make sure that both, because you've got this head of the eagle like sticking out over the shoulder. Not over the shoulder, but on the shoulder. So whenever they were framing certain scenes, they would always try to frame it so that it looked like both Stallone and the eagle was looking at you. So they would often film him, standing to the side as opposed to facing the camera. He'd be standing sideways and turning towards the camera, holding out his arm with the gun. So you see, the last thing these bad guys see is the face of Judge Dredd and the face of the eagle. The fake eagle that's been etched into the shoulder. I maintain that you could have more fun with this. Like, it doesn't have to be an eagle. Like, I was thinking that I like the idea of etching animals into the shoulder of clothing to signify what kind of person you're dealing with. So with Judge Dredd, it's an eagle. It represents truth and justice. And I think for someone like me, my first thought was that it should be a lemur to represent cowardice and overreacting. But then I thought, actually, what it should be is, like, if I want to etch an animal into the shoulder that represents the truth of who I am, and if the truth of who I am is someone who is terrified, then actually they should etch my own face into the shoulder. Who's that man there? And actually, too, by the way, you could still call me Judge Dredd. It's just that I would be the one filled with dread. So the name, you don't even have to change the name. Who's that? That's Judge Dredd. What's that etched in the side of his... What's that etched into his armor? Oh, his own face. Because he wants everyone to know that, yes, he is a frightened Jewish man. Now, I think that the fact that the eagle is only etched into one shoulder makes it look cooler than if the eagle was etched into both shoulders. Because if the eagle was etched into both shoulders, it would be symmetrical and too perfect. I think also, by the way, I think this idea of the eagle on the shoulder stems almost from the medieval armor and the medieval shoulder armor that came about. And I think they would do that there, that they would etch, probably isn't even the right word, they would sculpt probably the symbol of the coat of arms or the animal on the coat of arms onto the armor. So you got these knights walking around and there's this bronze lion that's basically attached to the side of the shoulder blade. Because if it's one thing you want to do in a battle, it's let everybody know who you are in broad daylight. But that went on for hundreds of years until they figured out not to do that. But that's, yes, and I'm just obsessed with this. I'm obsessed with this shoulder wear. Now, there's a moment in the movie, so Judge Dredd gets framed, and everyone's after him, and he's actually expelled from the city, but then he sneaks back into the city. And there's a scene in which he sneaks back into the police station. He knocks out another street judge. He takes the street judge's clothes, and then he proceeds to walk through the police station wearing the exact same outfit that he wore before he was a fugitive. So to review, Judge Dredd, who is on the run, is disguised as Judge Dredd. And there's a moment where he's walking down the hallway and another judge walks past, and the judge has to stop and think for a minute and look back. Wait, is that Judge Dredd? Are you disguised as yourself? Did you think that was going to work? Now, granted, they're all wearing helmets, so they all dress alike, I guess. But still, it tickled me. The moment tickled me. Judge Dredd also has, it's that situation where you've got the main villain, but then the subordinate villain who is higher in rank than the main villain, but somehow not as villainous. And then at the last second he realizes, oh no, this main villain is too villainous. I need to stop him. Oh, I can't stop him. My arms are being ripped off. And it's played by the guy who played all of those roles in the 90s. Every single one. He also played the father in Dune, the David Lynch version. Judge Dredd. And this specific design, by the way, in the 90s version, it was so he's got like this giant, it looks like football padding with an eagle in it. But then the rest of his outfit was, I think, spandex. So his shoulders are protected, but I guess, the vital organs, you'll be fine. As long as his shoulders are protected. If something happens to him, we will take his shoulders and put them on the body of another person. We will take his shoulders and we will put it onto a cyborg. And he will be RoboCop. Yes, RoboCop. We will take the brain of a cop and put him into a cyborg that cannot move very quickly. And somehow, in the space of 3 movies, he will be able to outfight a robot samurai and 2 giant robots that can move much more quickly. Yes, RoboCop. All right. I still can't I can't get over this shoulder pad stuff. Gold, too. So really, whenever it got dirty, it'd have to be maintained and polished. It seems like more trouble than it's worth, if I had to guess. If I had to guess. I feel like I should be delving into the themes of Judge Dredd. Although the 90s movie, it was, he learns that justice shouldn't be that harsh. It should be harsh, but not that harsh. By the way, while he's a fugitive, at one point he's being chased by a bunch of other judges, and they all die in the process. But because he's the good guy, I guess that's okay. And in the end, they ask him to be the Chief Justice, to be the leader of the society. And he says, no, I'm a street judge. I like killing people in the moment, as opposed to killing them slowly with political action, or inaction, as it were. Oh, no, I like being much more directly I'm much more directly involved in the demise of a human being. That's more my speed. And the real reason I want to be a street judge is because, unlike the chief judge, I get to wear these giant shoulder pads. If anything, the judges who were in the chief judges who were just at a desk all day, they should be the ones wearing the giant shoulder pads. They don't need to maneuver. I can't even fit in the room. These shoulder pads are getting in the way. All right, that's enough of that.